I never really thought about how many vampire-themed games were out there until I started scoping out the vast sea of discounted games and went, oh my god, there's another vampire game. There was some popular titles about vampires, but the only one that really ever came to my mind was Vampire the Masquerade, which has a sequel in development, but that's pretty much all we know about it at this point still. While we wait for more details on one of the most beloved vampire games of all time, we can fill that gap with other vampire games that are currently on the market. If this idea sounds intriguing to you, then I invite you to watch the second episode of 3 Games, 3 Impressions.
The airless king is dead. A throne without an owner. A realm without a leader.
Ported by the folks at Black Rose Projects, Vampire's Fall Origins was originally a game for smartphones and tablets. It has an impressive open world for that type of hardware, but I don't know, it didn't really click for me on the Xbox Series X. I think it's really cool that you can make a character and choose a little background, but that's also where it kind of stopped being cool for me. Turn-based combat is an excellent system, and despite what some modern audiences may say, it's not outdated. However, from the look of the overworld and some of the font, I guess I just thought it was maybe going to be a Diablo clone, and it wasn't. Which is a bummer, because I love those types of games. The dialogue is wildly cringy, and the starting town is called Vamp Ire, like Vamp apostrophe Ire. It tries to be humorous in a setting that just doesn't fit a comedic tone. It really tries to be funny, like something you'd seen like last year's Baldur's Gate, but I'm afraid without any real voice acting in it, it just comes across as out of place and jarring. The combat is very slow-paced and has a couple of layers to it when it comes to using your vampiric powers combined with your basic attacks, which can be interesting. Unfortunately, I just wasn't a huge fan of how it operated overall. I think it's cool that this game was ported to PC and Xbox without any sort of technical issues, but it's very clear that this was built for smartphones and tablets. My impression score for this game is going to be a 5 out of 10. If you've ever heard of Blood Rain, then you know that you're in for quite an odd game. It's got a niche following and even had 3 Hollywood movie adaptations. Blood Rain Revamped is supposedly a remaster of the 2002 title, but port might be more fitting. Remasters are supposed to include at least some form of modernization to it, like upscaled graphics, updated controls, fixed bugs, but that seems to be absent from Blood Rain Revamped. The controls at first are very disorienting, but you can get used to them as it doesn't control like that terribly, but it's still not great. Everything about this game is severely outdated, from the character design to the graphics to the way it plays, and I can't bring myself to recommend it. I would have tried to play like more of this game, as I try to always play around 3 hours, like at most, but it crashed on me in the first level at like partway through the Bayou missions, so I just moved on. My impression score for this game is going to be a 3 out of 10.
What is hate but jilted love? What is life but death pending?
Vampire or Vampire was developed by 2 studios, Don't Nod and Saber Interactive, and their collaborative efforts resulted in a pretty interesting vampire action RPG. It takes inspiration from your classic RPGs and blends it in with games like Dark Souls. There's tough decision-making and combat, cool vampiric powers, and a cool setting. Vampire takes place in London after the end of the First World War. You play a doctor who is attacked by a vampire on the streets of London during the night, and you have now become one yourself. The main goal is to track down the vampire who afflicted you with this illness and bring him to whatever justice you deem necessary. I had a lot of fun playing Vampire, and I might actually end up trying to play more of it. It had some really cool uses of a dialogue system that would reward you for exploring and talking to other characters. Then in turn, you would unlock new pieces of information that was previously withheld from you. The combat feels weak. The weapons don't feel like they pack a lot of power behind each swing, but the vampiric powers are just so cool to use. I think this was just a wicked creative concept that translated into a game pretty well, but struggled in some areas maybe due to with how ambitious it was overall. Don't Nod is releasing another RPG this year called Banishers of New Eden, and now I'm thinking about possibly checking it out for either this series or my review format. I'll give Vampire an impression score of 8 out of 10. Hey, if you discovered this video and watched all the way through, then thanks a lot. I appreciate any amount of views on this channel because I'm just yapping about my biggest hobby. If you like what I have made so far, then please feel free to check out my other work. If you like this series in particular, make sure you subscribe so you can see when another episode comes out. I'm going for at least one upload every week. Thanks for watching, folks.